When a wealthy Spanish CEO visits an exclusive New York club for a high-stakes investor dinner, his translator cancels last minute. The entire management panics as he begins speaking in rapid Spanish that no one understands. The tension builds until a quiet black waitress steps forward and responds fluently. What begins as a simple act of courage spirals into a night of revelations about class, culture, and deception as she exposes a hidden scheme behind the scenes and proves that brilliance often wears the plainest uniform. Welcome, dear viewers, to our channel. If you stand with those who speak up when silence serves the powerful, if you believe courage should never wear a uniform, then hit subscribe now. Because people who don't subscribe? They're usually the ones who cheer for the ones doing wrong. Now, back to the story. The chandelier light spilled like honey across polished mahogany tables at the Windsor Club, one of Manhattan's most exclusive private lounges. It was the kind of place where conversations floated on jazz music and money, and where the staff moved like ghosts, seen but never noticed. Imani Brooks balanced a tray of champagne flutes as the general manager, Mr. Calloway, barked orders into his earpiece near the entrance. His forehead gleamed with stress. People, focus. Alejandro Rivera's car just pulled up. He's the Spanish tech magnate who bought that satellite company last month. Treat him like royalty. The staff exchanged nervous glances. Word was that Rivera didn't like small talk, and that he conducted every major negotiation in his native language, Spanish. The club had arranged a translator for tonight's dinner, but when Imani overheard Calloway mutter, "She's stuck in traffic on the FDR," her stomach sank. At exactly 7:15 p.m., Rivera arrived, tall, silver-haired, a presence that made the air around him still. Behind him came two American investors, smug in tailored suits. The moment Rivera began speaking, rapid Spanish rolled off his tongue, sharp, precise, businesslike. Calloway froze. The investors blinked. Nobody answered. Rivera paused, confusion flickering across his face. He repeated himself, slower, his brow tightening when silence met him again. Then one investor laughed lightly. "Guess he left his translator on the plane," he whispered. The joke landed flat, but loud enough for Rivera to hear. The CEO's jaw tightened. A wave of discomfort rippled through the room. The musicians kept playing, but the rhythm faltered. Every server in sight looked away, terrified to be noticed. Then, from the far edge of the dining hall, a quiet voice broke the silence. "Dijo que esperaba respeto antes de firmar cualquier cosa." The Spanish was flawless, measured, calm, confident. Every head turned. There, near the marble column, stood Imani, dark curls pinned neatly, uniform crisp, tray trembling slightly in her hands. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Rivera's eyes found hers. "Hablas español?" he asked, softly incredulous. She swallowed. "Sí, señor. Lo hablo con fluidez." A murmur swept through the crowd. Calloway's color drained. "Miss Brooks," he hissed, crossing the room. "What are you doing? Step back. Your staff." Rivera raised a hand, silencing him without words. His gaze remained on Imani. "Then please," he said in Spanish, "interpret for me. It seems you are the only one here who understands me." Imani set down her tray, drew a steady breath, and stepped closer to the table. Rivera nodded once, then spoke again, slower this time. She translated smoothly into English. "He says," she began, "he was promised a bilingual reception, and wonders if tonight's partnership values communication as much as profit." Every syllable landed like glass. The investors exchanged uneasy glances. One of them forced a laugh. Of course," he said quickly. "Just a misunderstanding." But Rivera wasn't looking at them anymore. He was watching Imani, the way her posture stayed humble yet unshaken, the faint trace of nerves hidden behind professionalism. When the appetizers arrived, Calloway tried to whisper an apology to Rivera. The CEO lifted a hand again. "I prefer she remains," he said, gesturing to Imani. For the next 20 minutes, she stood beside him translating every word of the conversation, business forecasts, distribution plans, talk of expansion into Latin America. She felt the investors' eyes on her but refused to shrink. Her Spanish flowed effortlessly, years of quiet study finally finding purpose. Between exchanges, Rivera leaned slightly toward her. "Where did you learn?" "My grandmother," she replied softly in Spanish. "She cleaned houses in Madrid for 10 years. Rivera's eyes warmed. "Then you learned from honesty, not ambition." When dessert was served, Calloway finally found his courage. "Mr. Rivera," he said, forcing a smile, "thank you for your patience. Our professional translator will arrive any minute now. Miss Brooks can return to her station." Rivera turned to Imani. "Do you wish to leave?" She hesitated. "I'll stay if you'd like me to, sir." "Then stay," he said simply. Calloway's jaw tightened. "Mr. Rivera, I must insist." "You may request," Rivera interrupted coolly. "But I insist." Imani felt heat rise behind her eyes. For the first time all evening, someone had defended her. After the plates were cleared, Rivera invited the investors to join him in the private boardroom upstairs for the formal signing of a distribution agreement. "Miss Brooks," he said, "please come with us." Calloway opened his mouth to object, then thought better of it. He watched them leave, fury twisting his expression. The boardroom smelled faintly of cedar and cigar smoke. Rivera motioned for Imani to sit beside him. "Translate only what I say, not what they hope to hear." On the table lay 2 folders, one marked Spanish original, the other English contract. Rivera tapped them lightly. "Something is wrong," he murmured. "I want to see if you notice." Imani opened both. The Spanish version stated, "All proprietary rights remain the sole property of Rivera Holdings." The English one read, "Proprietary rights shall be managed jointly under U.S. oversight." Her pulse jumped. She looked up. "Sir, these aren't the same." Rivera's face didn't change. "Read them aloud when they arrive." Moments later, the investors entered, smiling too widely. "Ready to finalize, Mr. Rivera?" He gestured to Imani. "My interpreter will begin." Their smiles flickered. Imani stood, the papers trembling slightly in her hands. Her voice, however, was steady. In Spanish, Clause 6 reads, "All rights remain the sole property of Rivera Holdings." In English, it reads, "Rights are managed jointly under U.S. oversight." Silence. Then one investor cleared his throat. "That's just legal phrasing differences." Rivera's eyes hardened. "It is deception." Imani continued, translating his every word like a blade slicing the air. "You sought to steal what I built," Rivera said, voice calm but lethal. "And you would have succeeded had no one understood my language." The investors stammered. Calloway appeared at the doorway, pale. "Mr. Rivera, let's all calm down." Rivera turned. "You allowed this?" Calloway blinked. "Sir, I had no idea." "Then you are incompetent," Rivera said flatly, "or complicit." He closed the folder, rose to his full height, and looked at Imani. "Miss Brooks, thank you. You've done enough." She nodded, heart hammering. Then he looked at the room. "This meeting is over." He left without another word. Outside, in the corridor lined with gilded mirrors, Imani caught her reflection, a young woman in a waitress uniform who had just saved a multi-million-dollar deal from corruption. She should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt the weight of what was coming. Behind her, Calloway's voice hissed, low and venomous. "You just made enemies you can't afford, Miss Brooks." She turned, meeting his glare with quiet strength. "Maybe," she said. "But at least they know I can speak for myself." She walked away before he could answer, her steps echoing down the marble hall. The next morning, sunlight crawled reluctantly through the blinds of Imani's small Bronx apartment. The room smelled faintly of coffee and rain. She sat at the edge of her bed, still in disbelief at what had happened the night before. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Rivera's steady gaze, heard his calm authority as he dismantled deceit with facts and grace. But alongside the awe was a shadow, Calloway's words. "You just made enemies you can't afford." By noon, she was back at the club, hair neatly tied, uniform spotless. She had learned to face the world like armor, polite, unbothered, invisible when she needed to be. But invisibility wasn't possible today. "Miss Brooks," the receptionist said as soon as she stepped in. "Mr. Calloway wants to see you. Now." Her stomach tightened. She found him pacing in his office, the blinds drawn, his face red with fury. "Sit," he snapped. Imani obeyed silently. He slammed a folder on the desk, last night's event report. "Do you realize what you did?" he hissed. "You humiliated paying members. You spoke out of turn. You made our investors look like idiots." "With respect, sir," she said softly, "I only translated what was said. Don't get smart with me, Miss Brooks. You're staff, not a diplomat." He leaned closer. "Do you know how much damage you caused?" Her voice stayed calm. "I think the damage came from lying, not translating." For a moment, he said nothing. Then, through clenched teeth, "You're suspended. 2 weeks. Without pay." The words hit like a slap. "But sir." "Out." Imani rose, every instinct urging her to defend herself, but pride anchored her. Without another word, she turned and left the office. The walk through the marble corridor felt longer than usual. Colleagues avoided her eyes. A few whispered, others pretended not to see her. In less than 24 hours, she'd gone from invisible to infamous. Outside, the sky had darkened, heavy with storm clouds. She clutched her bag and started toward the subway. But before she reached the station, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Miss Brooks." The voice was smooth, accented, unmistakable. Her heart skipped. "Mr. Rivera?" "Yes," he said. "I called the club and was told you're unavailable. Is that true?" She hesitated. "I've been suspended." A pause. Then, a quiet, dangerous calm in his tone. "For telling the truth." She said nothing. "I'm sending a car," he continued. "Meet me at the plaza in 1 hour." The line clicked dead. An hour later, she stood before the Plaza Hotel's towering facade, clutching her purse like it held her courage. The doorman ushered her to the penthouse floor, where Rivera's assistant, a stern Japanese man named Mr. Oda, greeted her with a polite bow. "Mr. Rivera is expecting you," he said. The suite overlooked Central Park, the skyline stretching beyond like a promise. Rivera stood near the window, hands behind his back, watching the rain. "Sit, please," he said without turning. Imani obeyed, heart pounding. "You were punished for saving me," he began. "That tells me more about your world than about you." "I only did what was right," she said quietly. "That is the rarest thing," Rivera replied, finally facing her. "Do you know why I came to New York?" She shook her head. "I was considering moving my company's American operations here," he said. "But I don't sign papers I don't understand. Last night confirmed my suspicion I was being deceived by men I trusted." He smiled faintly. "And you, Miss Brooks, revealed it." Her cheeks warmed. "Anyone would have." "No," he interrupted gently. "Most would have stayed silent." He walked to his desk, picked up a folder, and placed it before her. "I am launching a new office here, Rivera Global. I want you to help me build it." Imani blinked. "Sir, I don't have a degree or—" "I'm aware," he said. "But you have something more valuable, integrity and the ability to see through deception." Her throat tightened. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he said simply. She looked down at the folder. Her name was typed neatly on the top page, Intercultural Liaison, Rivera Global, New York Division. Tears blurred her vision. "But Mr. Rivera," she whispered, "what about the club?" "Mr. Calloway will." Rivera's voice hardened. "He will receive a letter from my attorneys. The Windsor Club has lost my patronage." Imani's eyes widened. "You do that?" He smiled faintly. "Miss Brooks, respect cannot exist where truth is punished." For a long moment, silence hung between them, heavy, powerful, liberating. "Take the evening to think," Rivera said at last. "But if you choose yes, report here at 9 tomorrow. Oda will assist you." She rose slowly, still stunned. "Thank you, sir." Rivera nodded. "And, Miss Brooks?" "Yes?" "Don't let small men convince you that you are small." That night, back in her apartment, Imani sat by the window, staring out at the city lights. The rain had stopped. Her suspension notice lay on the table, beside Rivera's folder. 2 papers. 2 worlds. She thought of her mother, the years spent cleaning houses, the way she'd say, "Don't ever let them make you forget what you can do." Imani smiled through tears. The next morning, she put on her best outfit, a simple cream blouse, black slacks, hair neatly tied, and walked into the plaza with her chin high. Mr. Oda greeted her with a rare smile. "Welcome, Miss Brooks." For the next few hours, she shadowed Rivera in meetings, interpreting, organizing, observing. It was work she was born for, bridging worlds, building understanding. But peace, she soon learned, never lasted long in a room full of power. Late that afternoon, while Rivera stepped out to meet a legal team, Oda handed her a sealed envelope. "This came from Mr. Rivera," he said. "Hand-delivered by someone from the Windsor Club." Imani frowned. The envelope bore the club's gold crest. Oda noticed her hesitation. "Is there a problem?" "Maybe," she said softly. "Only one way to find out." When Rivera returned, she handed it to him. He opened it, read silently, and his jaw tightened. "It's from Calloway," he said. "He warns me to choose my allies carefully." Imani's heart sank. "He's angry." Rivera's eyes glinted. "Good. That means he's afraid." He folded the letter carefully and set it aside. "We move forward. But this," he tapped the envelope, "is not over." That evening, Rivera dismissed the team early. Only Imani and Oda remained. The air in the suite was quieter now, charged with unspoken plans. As she packed her notes, Rivera looked at her. "You should know, Miss Brooks, the men we exposed last night are powerful. They will try to fight back." She met his gaze. "Then we'll fight smarter." A slow smile touched his face. "I see now why fate made you speak." Imani chuckled softly. "Maybe it just got tired of me staying silent." Outside, lightning flashed over the city, illuminating the glass towers like warning beacons. Inside, a partnership had been born, not of status or money, but of shared defiance against deceit.